That's the land cost. What are people demanding in this area? Is it ones? Is it twos? So it's going to be between those. We call it a podium project. Specifically, so that way from the street, you're only going to see about a 35-foot building. So from a parking marketing standpoint, right, we only needed 11 parking spaces. So I didn't want to tell you what's really going on here. We're going to all be staying here together tonight.
A kumbaya moment.
So I brought you all to a 1923 home. It's haunted. And we're all going to stay in one room together. We're going to turn the fire on and kumbaya. Yeah, so to kind of give you an idea, so this is going to be a 20-unit apartment complex. Okay, see that guy right there? Called the Fletcher, and we were talking about kind of the history in the movies and all that stuff. So yeah, a lot of movies were created here back in the day, early to 1900s. This one should be all in right around $8 million. That includes land. That's the land cost. I'm gonna try and give the site plan. Thought it was on.
You bought this in
2019. Yeah. 419,000.
Really?
Yeah. So our land basis is great. I thought I had the site plan on here, but you can see it. But yeah, you can see the different floor plans and stuff in here. So it's we call it a podium project, which means you're going to come in pretty much where your guys' cars are at, almost a little bit this way. Driveway is going to come down. So that's kind of what you guys are seeing right here, right? Driveway coming down. It's going to come right into the garage, which is kind of the first level. It's all above grade, but it tucks down a little bit. And then so that's first floor garage. It's all concrete, no different than if you went to a downtown high rise. You see it kind of what we call podium. So it's all concrete first floor roof with columns and everything. And then the wood framing goes above that on basically they call it the first, second, and third floors. And so that'll be pretty much the building. It does have an elevator in it and all of that. So what's great is you can see, and we'll walk out in the back, but there's a 40 unit you guys saw, right? It's stable. It's a 50-50 shot whether or not we die in this house. Yeah, no, it's good. It's, but it's needs to come down. So yeah, so that wall they built in there, that's a $2 million wall. And they had special geotech engineering and all that stuff, set that up, and they had to set the buildings back far enough, blah, blah, blah. But that's a 40 unit complex that's built over there. And the same architect designed ours that designed that one. They've come in here and we have that building, right? It'll pretty much go out to kind of right at the edge of this first little pocket of plants right here. The wall kind of runs almost kind of by where that road's at a little bit. There where that kind of road that's growing in kind of runs around, right? And then out where that eucalyptus tree is out, right? You can kind of see on this side over here. And the wall pretty much runs like that. The highest point of the wall is about 12 feet. So this pocket down here, that's about a 12-foot wall right there. And we staggered it. So that's a little 4-footer on top of that sits back, but the highest point is 12 feet. Most of these are all 3, 4, 5 footers all in there. The highest point's down there at the top. Yeah, and the reason we had to design it like this is because we couldn't use our whole lot. It goes all the way down to the ravine, but we could only use half of it, 50%. No. Well, technically, yes, we could. So there's no height restrictions. So when you do affordable housing, which this one has an affordability component, you get 3 variances from the code. One of them could be height. The other one could be pervious areas, as they call it. So I think we elected for height of the building, height of the walls was another one. And that allowed us to go to a certain height on the wall system. And the other one's the density. So if we just came in here and built this as is, we would get 13 units. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. And you can't really get it in here because of our 50% maximum that we can use. So to really maximize the lot, we had to go with nearly 20 units, right? 19, but 3 of those are lower affordable, right? So, and then 16 of them now versus 13, we get 3 extra market rate for providing 3 affordable rate.
It's affordable.
They base it on median area income. So we went with the low, which gave us the density bonus. So like a 2-bedroom would normally rent here for, call it $27.95 for new construction, $2,800. We'll be renting it for about $2,000. And then a 1-bedroom would normally rent for kind of $17.95, $1,800. They'll be getting it for about $1,100 for those units.
How does someone qualify for that?
They have to have a maximum household income based on how many people are in their family, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they give them a certain amount of dollars they have to make, maximum. And if they make over that, they're out. If they make under it, they can qualify.
Voucher?
No, it's not a voucher program, so they pay for it all. It's just lower cost. Correct.
Percentage of median income?
Correct. We went with 80, I think it's 80%, 60 or 80% of area AMA, area median income. Yeah, AMI, sorry. But yeah, there's a whole formula for it. I have the sheet, the spreadsheet that shows you. And then that way, like the lower you go, the more density bonus you get. So because this was an affordable project, the other caveat with the state of California and with City of La Mesa is you don't need all the neighbors to sit there and have a kumbaya together, right? So as long as you're meeting city codes and other codes, you don't need their buy-in, right? Because, you know, this neighbor over here, unfortunately, you know, is not happy with having number one, that 40 unit and then a 20 unit built. And, you know, they've lived here. It's a, you know, the NIMBY deal of like, not in my backyard, right? Because I've lived here 20 plus years, 40 years, whatever it is. It's nice and quiet down here and I don't want anybody doing it. But I said, listen, we had a meeting with them multiple times and have worked together, right? To put something together that makes sense. We're gonna put a fire lane out there and widen it a little bit and make it nice. And, you know, we're gonna make sure things are private for them. Nobody's going in their space and blah, blah, blah. But they just don't want anything. Because we tried to throw all kinds of things like, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. No. It just came down to, we just don't like it.
Yeah.
We said, listen, well, I don't like it mentality, unfortunately, doesn't work. And especially when we're in full compliance with code and everything that we're doing. And they actually went out to the news stations and they tried to pull that in the whole sad victim story. And, you know, little did they know that I was going to then call them up too and have an interview on site here and actually give the other side of it. And I think everybody that watched that on Channel 5 and NBC were like, you know, you made a lot of sense because they're making you to be the evil developer guy. And I'm like, well, it's because you're getting that side of it. And the reporter, you know, tried to pivot it that way, right? And I'm like, guys.
You didn't have them out and give your side?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they called me and some people would kind of go quiet and be like, no, I don't want to have any comment. And I said, no, we're in full compliance. I'll be completely open about it, what's going on, everything we've gone through. We've had 3 meetings with them sitting at the city, right? Nobody else has complained. It's obviously just them, and that's fine. They have a right to. It just, they just were unhappy that they didn't get the chance to voice their opinion, right? And change things and have a control over it. And I said, well, based under city and state code, it's not even anything. It's just, it's not required. We have an affordable project. I said, you can see the project. I said, we specifically, just so they understand, I said, we specifically built the project down away from the, so this thing sits about 13 feet below street level right here. It sits down specifically so that way from the street, you're only gonna see about a 35-foot building. So 3 stories versus 4, right? Because it's technically a 4-story building, but you're only gonna see between 32 to 35 feet. So it actually won't. And then I'm like, if you're worried about our 19 unit, I said, that's a 40 unit staring at you. But once again, it comes down to the, what about the traffic? What about this? And I said, well, we've done all these things. We've had traffic reports. We've done this, we've done that. Everybody's off site. So just so you know, another thing you get is a parking ratio deal, because a lot of these deals now, you don't have to put in a lot of parking. So what we did is I said, no, I said, that's what we are allowed to do. That doesn't mean we should do it. So from a parking marketing standpoint, right, we only needed 11 parking spaces. We put in 22 because I said, last thing I want, I know what we can do, but I said, could you imagine us not having parking here?
Yeah.
And what they're finding out in other areas of San Diego, like North Park and City Heights and all these other areas where these guys built these McMansion buildings on there, 4, 5, 6 stories with micro units, and they put like 4 parking spaces, thinking that people would use scooters and Ubers and all the other stuff. And that's cute. It's a nice thought, but they're finding out now years later, well, that's just not the case. People still want parking. So we didn't do that here. We have full offsite parking, a whole garage. Everybody gets, you know, I think we're only off the actual ratios by like 5 parking spaces. And then we have all the EV stuff in here. We have scooters and like we're modern with it. And then there's a transportation line right here for buses and all that stuff. And then San Diego State is like 1.5 miles away.
Now, when you're trying to when you're trying to lay out like how many bedrooms, you know,
Unit mix.
how do you determine that?
Based off kind of the demand, you know, and kind of what they call highest and best use. So when you're figuring out, hey, what's the highest and best use of the land? You always begin with the end. And that's how I was always taught. So you say, okay, like what would get us, what does the market want, number one? And then based on that, what is the best mix of units, 2s, 1s, and maybe a 3 or whatever it is, to get the highest revenue possible
Yeah.
And then that gives us the highest value. And then we start with the value and back in.
So then how do you determine what the market need or the market demand is?
Yeah, so you can go online pretty easily and find out what's renting, what's not renting. I actually went around to a couple comps in the area too and talked to them and say, hey, you know, the 2 bedrooms like this. So you don't want to do any 2-bedroom 1 baths. It's always 2 2s or 1 1s. The 1 1s rent pretty good. So we're right around almost a 56, 40 something % on our 1s and 2s. And then we have 1 3-bedroom unit that's on the top floor. That's a 3-bedroom.
Yeah. 3-2?
That's a 3-3.
Oh, 3-3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then there's common area and all that stuff too that sits off the back. But yeah, and this, you know, the hardest part of this one is getting the cost lined up for the wall system, right? Because that's not cheap. I mean, I think I have about $1 million budgeted in that thing for all the walls and stuff like that, and including kind of some of the foundational work. So that's one of the pricier areas that we just got to be tactful with. Because beyond that, it's just normal build. But you got to get the foundation set, which is, you know, it's a good amount of wall systems coming down, right? So.
And some of that, I'm assuming, is retaining wall, right?
All of it.
All.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is retaining. It's all retaining the property. But most of it's small, right? 3, 4, 5 feet, you know, 6 feet. And I said the highest point's right around the corner here, where it goes from about 6 feet to 12 feet and then tapers off back to about a 4-foot wall, which is nothing. But yeah, out in that point out there is where it's the highest retaining.
Yeah,
so
the challenge we're having with that Cleveland property, the 39 unit, is a unit mix. So Steve, because the end pieces have those turrets and they're really large, 3 bedrooms, he was thinking we'd do 4 bedrooms, but it's 4 and with only 1 bathroom. And I thought, so we're thinking, are we better doing that, or are we better doing 2 bedrooms?
Well, what I would be doing is I would go. I mean, there's a couple ways you can pull that off. Number one is I would get in touch with apartments.com, who's CoStar. It's all owned by CoStar. So CoStar owns homes.com, apartments.com, everything.com, right? And I would talk to them and say, hey, can you give me a full market report and market study for my area? And if you're advertising, you're going to advertise with them, they'll give that to you for free. Otherwise, maybe you pay for it or whatever it is, but that's well worth its money to get an idea of where is everything trading at, you know, what's the supply. So that way, you know, okay, what are people demanding in this area? Is it 1s? Is it 2s? It's going to be between those, you know, or do you stick in a couple 3 bedrooms to where you can have larger families? Is that kind of what the market's demanding? Yeah. What's the price per square foot of those? Because that'll dictate kind of the highest and best use, but also what's in demand. So I would get with apartments.com. And then once you have that, I would throw that into ChatGPT and have it analyze the market for me based on all the data points. And it'll do that into even our multifamily chat.
Because I spoke with the housing authority earlier this week, but they really wouldn't give me any
information. Right. But apartments.com has all the data, right? Because they're owned by CoStar. So they have all this data. Everything that's renting in that market, they know, and they can show you, and they'll give you a nice little report on what's renting and the price per square foot they're getting, what's the supply, even development, what's coming, what's because they run permits too. Is any new construction coming? Is any new supply coming on? They'll run all that stuff and give you a pretty good idea of what that market is in demand of.
Because obviously if we did 4 bedrooms, would be less expensive. If we now break that up and go with a 2 and in a 1 bedroom, now you're having to put in kitchen and a bathroom in the 1 unit.
Yep.
Plus have to have an entry door, and they also have to have some exit.
Well, sure, yeah, fire hazards and then you have HVAC and you know the plumbing differentials and sure.
I told Steve we got to at least get an idea of a cost.
But regardless of the cost side of it, you want to put in what is going to rent.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I would get with apartments.com. They have reps there, and that's what's CoStar, and say, hey, I need a market report study on the entire Cleveland submarket, and then this little pocket, and I want to see what's renting, not renting, price points, all that stuff, and they'll give you they'll take the address and run everything around it. And then they'll also give you an actual market report for like the whole kind of Cleveland submarket, if you want to pull that, because we use that. And then if you're doing a bigger project, it depends on if it makes sense financially or not, but you can pay about $7 to $10 grand. And there's third-party companies that'll do this for you, and they'll run a full market study. And we'll usually do that. We've done that for all of our larger apartment complexes. That way it takes out of us telling investors and us telling banks and us telling people, oh, this is what the market is. Yeah, we can tell you all we want, but this is a third party completely detached from us that is saying X. And that way you can rely more on that, and it gets the investors kind of more comfortable. Okay, like I know you told me X, but now you have third parties and everybody else telling me X. I'm feeling a little bit better about it. So.
When you ask apartments.com for one, do they charge you that too?
If you're not marketing with them, probably, right? Or they'll say, hey, market with us. But I would just, I would literally just sign up with them for like the first month, get a report, right? Or something. And that way you sign up for their gold package for $700 a month and then get a full blown report. And then you can put it on hold for a little while or something. But that way, because they have a lot of data because they're pulling it in from everywhere. So yeah. Yeah, so does anybody want to move in here? It's 1923, clean.
Move in until March.
What's that?
We'll move in until March.
Oh.
Well, that's nicer in Oregon.
Yeah, we're getting to clean up a little bit for a tenant to move in for a little bit, and they'll be month to month. So we got to change carpet and do all that. What's that? Yeah, we'll give you a special rate. This one will rent for $2,500 a month. Yeah.
As is.
Pretty much. I mean, we're cleaning it up a little bit more, so sure. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I agree, but it's San Diego,
It's a nice location.
And because if you go around here to rent a single family home in this setup, you'll spend $2,800 to $3,500 minimum. So we're giving people obviously a pretty good break. Granted, it's still month to month. They'll probably have 6 months minimum, and then we would give them 60-day notice. So they'll get at least 8 months in here minimum. But there's plenty of people looking for housing.
And when you give them notice, you have to pay a couple months?
No, because it's a short-term lease and it's the term of the lease. So no, you wouldn't have to do that. As long as it's all disclosed up front, kind of that it's month to month and all that. But yeah, that's going to be, we were having a homeless problem here for a little while when there wasn't anything on like that lot either. Because that slope, just so you guys know, is that thing was about a 45, 50 degrees slope, like almost straight down. It was crazy. And they built that whole wall and backfilled it in with dirt. I mean, it was a crazy wall system they put in there. But it's a beautiful project. You can drive over there and see it. And ours will mimic that a little bit, but they have elevator systems in it up on top. Same architect, yeah.
Looks like they might be using the rooftop.
They are. They have a rooftop deck and stuff up there, which we have as well.
You're going to do that. Do you know if they're 100% occupied?
I'll have to check in on that. I mean, I believe they are now. They're pretty leased up.
How long have they, when did they start leasing?
Earlier this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they're all done.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you got, cool little trolley. It's not a train, it's a trolley.
Okay.
So it's quiet. You don't even hear it. I mean, you hear the freeway more than that. Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah, that's why we actually even installed this fence here, because we had, some of the homeless, they would walk the rails here. Like they'd walk the trolley line, hop the fence. They were living on that lot, not ours, that lot, but they would put up some tents and stuff over there. And it was just kind of an eyesore.
Yeah.
And, we went ahead and put this here just for safety purposes, but never had any issues. So.
How'd you get them to leave?
Well, when that started getting built, it kind of force fed them off the property. And then the city came down and they didn't want that blight and stuff there too, because they were starting to, put up little camps. Yeah. And I said, guys, it's a fire hazard. I said, you're sitting in here in a ravine. I see them lighting stuff. I said, they light one and this whole thing is party gone. I said, I won't mind if they burn this thing down. I said, we'll get some insurance. I mean, but for your sake, no, we don't want to kill the neighbors, So, but I said, yeah, I see them lighting fires and stuff, and they'll go down in the ravine and stuff. And I walked down there a couple times, and they're not bad folk. They're just but they're the trash everywhere and doing drugs and all that stuff.
So when you bought this property in 2018, 2019, was the plan all along to build this much later, or is that other?
No, because what ended up happening is we were trying to find the right iteration because of the constraints on the lot that kept delaying things. And, then what ended up happening to our benefit is the state of California, I think in 2020, 2021, put in these affordable housing ordinances, and that allowed the bonus density to change. So then we said, okay, well now we can actually make this thing make some really good sense, and we can get some bonuses and all this other stuff. The only hard part was, we can only touch 50% of the lot. So that forced the building to go more vertical. Yeah. Whereas I would have preferred to lay it out a little bit nicer and keep it, a little bit easier with lower walls and all that stuff. So we went through a couple iterations of the design, which delayed us. And then we had to fire one architect and bring on the new guy who's very good. Everything was good up until about 2020. Took us about 2.5 years to get to the point where we're close to that. But then COVID hit, and that delayed things a year. And then once that came out of it, construction costs started going crazy. So then we're looking at it going, dude, like, do we build now? And then interest rates started going crazy when we were going to start building in 2022, right? So then that changed the last game for the last couple of years is really the market, the interest rate and construction costs, which made it, not as great. Now the stuff's starting to soften up. So now construction labor is coming down and the financing is getting more in line to where construction financing, you can go out there. We can get 7.5% construction financing.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm. And they'll come in and we're looking to partner up with a guy right now. We'll see if it works out. Well, they'll come in and partner with us, have an ownership stake, but provide the financing and roll it into a permanent financing afterwards. And then they'll own it with us. So we're looking at that option. And the reason why is this guy, apparently pretty wealthy. And I'm like, this is incredible if this is the case. We're just still trying to check the guy out, but it's all checking out. He has access and he got it over the years with life insurance money. So he's able to get 3% life insurance money. It's just like interest rate arbitrage. 3%, he has a $200 million war chest from a life insurance company at 3%. So if he can get 3% at 200 million and then re-lend that or re-put it out to the market at 5, 6, 7%, he makes the arbitrage. He might as well lend 100% financing on this thing, right? And then refinance it into fixed rate debt at 4.75. He's still making a delta on the money. And now he has ownership and he has very little money out of pocket because he has 3% money. It's like having imagine if you had a war chest of $200 million and you're paying 3% on it, where you could very easily go out to the marketplace and earn 5, 6, 7% on that and be in a first loan position on all the property, right? You're protected and you're making 2, 3% margin on that money all day long, right? And scale like crazy. And that's what this guy's done. And I'm like, I need that connection. I said, if you gave me $200 million in a war chest at 3%, do you have any idea the damage I could do? The amount of apartments I could buy at 3% interest rate. It's almost like having cash, pretty much. It's almost free money, almost. You could go in and you get that money and you move quickly, you buy it at 3%, right? And then you can, it's just crazy. It's a very unique position. So if it all works out, yeah, that's a good partner. We'll see.
Yeah, you need to have the person with a high enough net worth to be able to justify the amount of insurance, because obviously the amount of insurance is relative to his net worth.
Correct.
That you can get.
No, it's not even his insurance. He has relationships with life insurance. So life insurance companies, they lend money, right? So he's just made relationships with them. So no different than a hedge fund or private equity or even a traditional bank. Life insurance companies put money out into the marketplace so they can earn money for their investing pool. Right? So they're all of us paying life insurance policies, right? They take that money that we're paying in premiums every month, they lend it out. But they're lending it out very conservatively, right? 3% money, right? Very conservative type debt. And that allows them then to go to the marketplace and protect their assets. And then they can own all these apartments.
Try and get us a meeting with Pacific Life.
Yeah,
you're going to have to be the mouthpiece.
Sure. Yeah, it's all connections and getting in there and it's not even getting them to absolutely commit to you. It's just getting them to say, okay, great. Well, let's date this a little bit and let's date. You're not getting married, but let's start with, okay, if you find a deal, let's start with one, see how that works out. And then if it works out great. Now you have access to, big time capital. Right? But it all starts with one. And you get one done, you show them, you go through the cycle, and then they're like, okay, you proved it, before and after, we can see it. Everybody's making money, it's protected, let's do it again. And then they're like, okay, we'll double it. So now you went to this, to that. But yeah, having that cheap money, and it only comes from a few sources. So life insurance is super cheap. Family offices can be cheaper money, like big family offices. Obviously hedge funds, but they just depends. But your life insurance money is gonna be your cheapest money. Get a war chest. When I heard that, I'm like, gosh, is he really doing that? I said, that is gold, right? Imagine if all of us had $200 million in a war chest at 3%.
I'm actually shocked the insurance company would loan it at 3, and I'm shocked that he would loan it at 7 or whatever, because they could get more.
Well, but you gotta remember, their positioning is ultra conservative. They cannot lose that money. So because of that, they just go in, they put themselves in good positions. They'll loan it out because that money's free to them.
Couldn't they loan it out at 7? Couldn't the insurance company loan it out at 7?
Yeah, but then they're competing, right? And they're also not going to be in as a protected position. So the reason that they go in at 3 is because their money's very, very, very nicely protected. They're just trying to earn something on it at or greater than the rate of inflation. That's really all the life insurance companies are doing, because you got to think, they have that money protected for all of us, right? We're paying in the premiums. If we die, they got to pay it out the money. They can't have that money lost. They're not losing money, right? So like Northwestern Mutual, all these big life insurance companies, they lend money out and they get paid a rate, and it's just very conservative money. So that's why they do it. Because you're right, they could get more, and they probably tranche their money. I don't doubt that they probably take a portion of it and do lend it at a higher rate, but they have the other portion that's super cheap. But you got to get in on that, and this is the first guy I've ever met that supposedly has this connection.
I've seen that done, not in this application, but where they'll go ahead and fund, like Kobe Bryant, he had these huge insurance policies, the Index Universal Life type policies.
Sure.
And if you have a high enough net worth, same thing, they will lend you those premiums.
Sure.
So long as you can make the interest payments on an annual basis.
Correct.
But then the growth on that money is crazy. And after like 15 years, not only has that been paid off, now you probably have doubled, what that cash value is.
Correct.
And you only came out having to make the interest payment on an annual basis.
Right. So that's becoming what they call your own bank. Right. So I do it for myself. So the best way to become your own bank, just so you all know this, is 2 forms. One is life insurance. The other one is your 401k. So with your 401k, you can lend up to 50% of its value, right, to yourself, and you pay the interest back on a plan. You become your own bank. You're paying yourself the interest and you're paying yourself back. That's option A. Option 2 is whole life insurance policy. So you can lend up to 95% of your cash value. You determine the payback rate, right? Typically it's at 5%, but you can pay it back however long, and you become your own bank. And so I'll lend money and pay myself back all the time. Right. I have like 75,000 out on my whole life policy right now, and we'll pay that back. Same thing with 401k, and pay that back and just become your own bank, and you're paying yourself. So I'm literally paying myself my own interest. A lot of people will do that, and then that way you can avoid going to banks for stuff, depending on how much you got, but you can do that up to 95% of your cash value on a whole life and up to 50% on your 401k, and then you just pay yourself back. And if you need any more than that, then you can go to a bank. I learned that. That's a trick of the trade out here around the whole life. Any other questions around this one? The average rents on this thing will produce about $48,000 a month in gross potential rent, and then we'll have other income and stuff in that for RUBS and reimbursables and all that stuff. It'll probably run at about a 32 to 35% expense ratio, somewhere in there. But it'll produce about a 5 to 5.5 cap rate on this thing, which is why the person that has it needs to build it and hold it, allow the market to do its job over a few years, and then maybe exit the property after about at least a 5-year hold. The smart move we're kind of doing on this one is we're going to sub-meter the property, which means you have one water meter coming in, you have individual gas meters, right? But during construction, we're going to put a condo map on it.
So you could potentially sell them off as condos in the future. Yeah,
after 10 years, because we would wait the 10-year statute of limitations. So in the state of California, you can get sued for construction defect up until 10 years post-construction. So what a lot of developers do is they'll come in, build it as apartments, right? Rent it out for 10 years, have the condo map on it. That way it's ready to go. And then after 10 years, they'll actually put that condo map into play and sell them as individual condos. And then it's kind of like you're getting a double whammy, right? You get the money going in, and then you get a double whammy when you exit these things at sales prices on the condos.